everybody. Welcome to our continuing series, Reflections, a Cuong Nhu History. I'm your host, John Salmon, and I'm joined, you can't see him, the wizard behind the curtain, Mark Brandenburg, without whom none of this would be possible. This interview and multiple previous interviews are available to be viewed at the Cuong Nhu YouTube channel. Our guests today are Master Kirk Farber, Sensei Carolyn Frazier, and Sensei John DiPietro. This project is designed for us to hear the stories of Cuong Nhu from the beginning here in the United States. And we're going to talk about O-Sensei, and we're going to talk a little about Grandmaster Quinn. So let's meet these special people. Let's start with Carolyn.
Hi.
Carolyn moved to Gainesville as a college senior from Little Rock, Arkansas in 1972. She did a whole bunch of stuff in Gainesville, bartender, waitress, Mr. Donut. I think she owned the Mr. Donut, the accounting.
I ate it all.
She ate all the profits at
Yes, I did.
Mr. Donut. She was with the Dragon Gate Dojo after the Tenno Dojo in Gainesville. She taught intramurals with Master Mary Davis. She married Bert in 1991, moved to Jacksonville in 1992. She's a Yandan, 4th degree.
Retired.
And she's retired on my piece of paper.
Yes.
John DiPietro. John DiPietro professionally is a licensed real estate agent, investor, realty specializing in sales and property management. His martial arts journey began in 1977 in Tang Soo Do. His first training was with some guy named Kirk Farber. You're the connection here, Kirk. In 1981 in Atlantic Beach. Became a black belt in 1985. Started teaching with Kirk. In the early 2000s, he founded the High Desert Dojo out in Arkansas?
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then came back to Jacksonville. Taught some more with Kirk. And received his Godan 5th degree in 2009.
Yes.
Kirk, you've been mentioned a little bit already. 7th degree, Shichidan. Started with me, with Harry Lakava, advanced far beyond me. Let's just leave it at that. As a freshman, then he moved to Dragon Gate as a sophomore at UF.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 4 years learning with John Benson and John Kay. Started teaching the kids classes with John Benson in 1980 at the center. And we'll talk more. Kids have been the focus of your life ever since. Importantly, he was president of the Cuong Nhu Association for 17 years. In 2003, he created an organization called FACE. We're going to hear more about that because it's just celebrated its 20-year anniversary. All right, I'm going to throw out some questions. Carolyn,
Yes.
what was your first contact with Cuong Nhu? When, where, with whom, and did you need a PE credit?
Yes. That's one reason I started. I also had started dating the man who would become my first husband, John Benson, and my instructor. So it was an intramural course, and it was at the basement of the gym, the UF gym, the old UF gym, and Sensei Dong was Sensei Dong back then, that's what we called him. And I hardly ever really had contact with him because there were so many of us, and the brown belts were always the ones that were our main teachers. You know, he came around and saw everybody at least once in class, but that was about it. And yeah, it was at I studied at the basement of the gym until I graduated in 1974, and then I moved on, and at that point John Benson was teaching in our backyard, so I moved on to him as my instructor and was there for, I can't even tell you how long, until we divorced, so a while.
Kirk.
I went to University of Florida, fall of '76. I was in a dorm called Murphy Dorm. I saw a little sign that said Cuong Nhu martial arts classes across the street at the Hillel Center.
What was the price?
$5 a month.
Okay.
Wow.
That was a big drawing point.
Yeah, it was
Mine
the drawing
too.
point, $5 a month.
You paid for
I
this.
had been in Cuong Nhu for approximately 2 weeks. I went to go see my twin brother at FSU, and I'll never forget, he left me at a party. Typical, twin brothers can do that. But there were 2 girls at the party who gave me a ride home. We stopped at a burger joint, actually a Waffle House. I literally broke up a fight between 2 guys here and 2 guys here, redneck guys and gay guys, but that was, they were going at it. I broke it up thinking, okay, I did my good deed, and the guy comes running in from outside swinging, hits me. I fall back or fall into the booth with the 2 girls. He said, let's go. And I'll never forget that night. I told myself, as long as I'm in Gainesville, I'm going to continue taking this new style that I was training in Cuong Nhu. Fast forward, not only 5 years in Gainesville, but 45 plus years now in the style.
Your turn, John.
A common friend of Kirk and mine, Carl Johnston, who later got his black belt, with us, introduced us in Gainesville, and I said, hey, this friend of mine, Kirk's going to be opening up a karate school in Atlantic Beach in a couple of months. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll be there. And Kirk's like, yeah, okay, right. Didn't really believe
Heard that before.
Well, I did show up, and I had something going on at the time, and I loved the workout, and I said, okay, I will be back. And he said, okay, you're right. Didn't really believe me then either. Well, I did show back up at the end of the month, and that was June 1981, and to this day we still work out together every week. So I did come back.
You came back to the largest, tallest class of men in Cuong Nhu.
Yeah.
Johnston and
Oh, yeah.
Steve Cristaldi and
Steve
him.
Cristaldi.
It was like
Lance
being in the
Sharp,
forest. They were so tall and big.
This is a broad question, and you can include anybody, not necessarily all the obvious choices. Who was that individual or individuals, sensei or fellow student, who had the greatest impact on you then and now, as a martial artist, as a person, and why? Who wants to take?
I'll start.
There you go.
Because I've been thinking about this one. I'm still in touch with most of the people that I started with or trained with or were major instructors.
And
for
you can
me.
use names.
Oh, I will.
Thank you.
No, it'll be nice though. So the first instructors I really had that weren't just helpers were John Benson and John Kay when they opened Dragon Gate.
For people's edification, Dragon Gate was in Gainesville.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, right near the
By the
Hippodrome.
Hippodrome Theater.
Right across the street
Okay,
from it.
just want to give
So,
people some context.
Unair conditioned old brick building that was hotter than an oven.
Pole in the middle
Or
of the road.
freezing, one or the other. So, and look, I didn't realize this at the time, looking back on it. Benson was the creative guy. He liked to play with his techniques. You could often find us at the beach and he would be doing wheel kicks in the surf, and he always figured out what worked for him and what the physics of it were, kind of. John Kay was also very creative, but in a completely different way. Very, what am I trying to say here?
Discipline's what I
Yes,
would
there you go.
say. Discipline.
Very consistent,
1,000
very,
kicks.
yes. And expected a lot, didn't give a lot of praise.
Yeah.
Told me I had a terrible sidekick the week before my brown belt test. Thank you very much. Freaked me out so bad. He was loving in his own way, very caring about the students, and he wanted them to be the best. So they're kind of a unit, but separately. So the other one, this one just got added to the list, is David Killian. David was in my class when I started at the University of Florida. Could not walk straight line. He was clumsy. He was slow. He was a good singer. He has a beautiful voice. He was the huge nerd because he was an astronomy PhD guy. But he got up one day and told his story about why he was in Cuong Nhu. As a child, he had scarlet fever. And he had to relearn everything. Relearn how to walk, how to write his name, how to speak well. And he was shaking. He was so nervous to tell us all of this. And I just was dumbfounded at that he would put himself through Cuong Nhu to do that, and how far he had come, even when he was just talking about that. Now, he's a highly ranked Aikidoka, if that's the right word.
It is now.
And, you know, he teaches that in other styles. He has done self-defense classes for police officers on how to handle people with mental problems. And he still practices Cuong Nhu. He's an amazing man. And he's like a brother to me. I love him to death.
And his interview is available on the Cuong Nhu YouTube channel.
And he and I did an interview like 30 years ago. But, of course, Sensei Dong. I mean, that just goes without saying as far as I'm concerned. Master Mary. She was pretty much the only woman above me to look at in Gainesville. So, there's that.
Kirk, you want to add to that question?
Sure, mine's kind of similar. I had the John Benson in the beginning, I think more because I looked up to him so much as a mentor, someone who was 12 years older than me.
He was also 12 years old sometimes.
Yeah. I was, 17, 18-year-old, and here's a guy that just, he loved to spar, and I love, that's how I got so good. We sparred every night in class. We'd go out in the outside, and we would hit the leaves off the branches with our sticks. Like Carolyn said, he was really creative. Came up with some really creative ideas. Sensei, of course, because not only was his inspiration there, but I started doing the soft style. I tore my ACL in '82. I had just gotten my Shodan. I was on top of the hill. I had my own dojo. I was a black belt. I was, big man on campus, and all of a sudden, I tear my ACL, thinking, oh no, what am I going to do? And that's when I started doing the Tai Chi, Chang Man Ching's form, along with the soft style, very serious with Sensei. In fact, Beaches Cuong Nhu was the first school outside of Gainesville that had soft style classes. So Sensei, I could go on and on with his wisdom, his knowledge, the things he would say at the picnics. He would start talking, and all of a sudden, it was a wealth of wisdom and knowledge and information. And then, of course, Quinn, because Quinn was like a little brother to me. I met him, November of '77, when I was 18 years old, and for the next, 30 some odd years, we would talk a lot. We'd go out and party when it came after regional tests, go on the dance floor. Anyone that ever remember those days would see he would be doing the dancing, the worm on the floor, and all these other people that had nothing to do with Cuong Nhu would be surrounding us, watching us. I mean, he was the life of the party, which was so different than his father, because his father was a lot more low-key and would get out on the dance floor with us and move around a little bit, but we were more awestruck with Sensei, where with Quinn it was like, wow, he's like a little brother, but yet he had that same wisdom that his dad had. So, and then probably just the students in general. When you meet a student, whether it be someone you only had them for a month or 3 months, like John mentioned earlier, oh, I'll be there, oh yeah, sure, I'll see you. We'd hear that a lot. There was one student I remember fondly, rest in peace, Robert Buckner, was one of those guys who couldn't do anything properly. He was overweight, no real coordination, but he hung in there, got his black belt, and to this day it just reminds me, the more you practice, the better you get, and the more you practice correctly, the better you understand.
Yeah.
I'm going to circle back on two things you said. Maybe Sensei didn't dance, but I heard he would sing.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about the singing.
Go ahead.
First time I heard him sing was at the 1984 training camp in Jacksonville, and we knew he was going to do a kata, and then he performed a kata, and then he sang the song "Around the World," I think is the name of
He
the
loved
song.
that
We
song.
used to sing it at training camp.
And
He
then
loved
we
that
now
song.
sing at train. Well, we used to sing it with him in the early days.
Yeah.
Beautiful voice.
You, I think, have the rainbow belt?
Yeah, the soft style.
Tell us more about that.
Sure, it started, the soft style classes was
Explain what I mean by the rainbow.
yeah, it was a red belt. So we had the hard style, and I love telling the story where we got up to 300 black belts in the hard style. We only had 10 black belts in the soft style. 8 of them were hard stylists that started training in the soft style, like Frank Finessen, Ted Serigley, and then there were 2 people that were just traditional soft style. I know Sensei would describe it like someone carrying a briefcase every day in their left hand. Eventually they'd walk like this. So he needed to blend it. So in 1989, as he wrote in the Dragon News, we had to blend the soft style with the hard style. But back at that time, we had hard style regional events 4 times a year, and we had soft style regional events 4 times a year. So from being from the beaches, I would take students to the soft style, and we would do 2 years of Wing Chun, 2 years of Judo, 2 years of Aikido. And what started as a white belt to 1 green stripe would be the red belt. Then you would get different color stripes on.
There's a rainbow.
And then eventually in 1985, I got promoted to a black belt in soft style. So what it was I had my black belt in hard style, and then I received a rainbow stripe, if you want to call it that, with the different, and to this day I have it in my office over there. Whenever I go to any regional event, I'm teaching the soft style history and all, or annual training camp, I always give the history. We wore black pants and white top. We started in a circle where the linear hard style would be all white gis, and we do linear rows, line up in lines and all. So it's really a nice yin and yang how that all blended with the soft style. And to this day, it's just a good thing to realize balancing the opposites create harmony.
Same question to you, John, and it's okay to talk about Kirk if he's the guy.
Oh, I'll not talk about it.
Yeah, where's that question going?
It's a 2-part question, or 2-part answer for me. One, my greatest influence in martial arts, I would have to say, would be Kirk Farber. I started training with him. The classes were incredibly strenuous. We did crazy things like knuckle push-ups and fingertip push-ups, and you had to do
Rolls over 7 people.
diving over 7 people.
And I heard Carolyn was the tough one.
Oh, I'm going to talk about her too.
It's a different
yeah.
He's climbing up the ladder. He's starting with me.
I'm not done yet. And so, the classes were just so strenuous, and I looked at the green belts, and these guys are really good. They're better than the black belts of this other system that I was in. And so, so it drove me to become better and better. His pushing us in class, well, you can only do 1 knuckle push-up, just do 1. And tomorrow I do 2. So that's what I did. And then as I progressed in rank, we began going out and visiting other schools of different systems, from Kali, Jiu-Jitsu, Jeet Kune Do, traditional Wing Chun, people that taught the pressure point system of application, and
He's really good at that.
Yeah. Well,
I went to a seminar.
No, get away from me.
I went to a seminar. You brought somebody in
Yes.
who did that. I still have no feeling in part of my.
I can get it back for you.
It's okay.
It'll
Okay.
hurt though.
But-
It'll hurt.
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up earning a 4th degree in their style, Torite. But it was just through, his introduction to these other systems that really expanded my martial arts. As an individual, I have to say, Sensei, without a doubt, probably one of my biggest influences in my life. The way he would push us in workouts, tell us to do more, that we could achieve more. It gave me a greater strength of character, just looking the way who he was, what he did, what he had been through, and a greater determination in life, just to be a better person in life. To when they knock you down, get back up, knock you down, get back up, don't ever quit. And I really learned that our biggest obstacle in life are our own self-imposed limitations, and it just came out of that training. And so, the other obstacles and difficulties I met was taking my 1 and 2 green stripe test. Oh my God, it was like, Sensei Carolyn gave both. I had the honor of having the first one. I'm going, phew, boy, I hope I don't have that again. And then I had her for my second grade strike test. But
Don't forget about the brown stripe. You and Bert being little chatterboxes back there.
did we get in trouble for that?
Yeah, I told you both to shut up a couple times before
Oh, you're always
did.
telling me to shut up.
In Norway.
So anyway, yeah. So those, you know, I have to say it was a twofold answer, you know, of Sensei Kirk and
Yeah,
Well,
there's
since
no simple answer to this.
yeah.
I pick these questions on purpose.
And that's one thing that I've been away. I've been stepped back for a long time. I'm not gone. I hear stuff. I see things. I still know a lot of people. I like to learn about the new people, all that kind of stuff. But that's one of the things about Cuong Nhu is that it's always with you. It does not matter how long you've been in it, how long you've been gone. Doesn't matter. It's always part of your life. Always.
You look
There's
at it-
something you hear somewhere along the day or in a situation.
Let's go. What's a funny or poignant or both story?
The thing about never failing a test, I sailed through, we used to test every 3 months. I sailed through, passed every test. And came for training for black belt. We were working out 7 days a week. I mean, it was just, we worked out every aspect we could, Steve Cristaldi and I. And it came down to the test, and we show up, and we're feeling good. You know, we go.
What year is it?
That was December 1984.
Okay.
And you know, feeling like there's nothing else we could do. It's now. Now's the time. And we're standing in line, and O Sensei walks in, and he goes in a tirade. He is so mad, and he's talking about being irresponsible, not accepting responsibility, and doing what you're supposed to do. And he went on and on and on.
Before the test started?
Before the test started.
Whew.
And then we're just like, whoa, you know, we're kind of like eyeballing each other back and forth. Somebody's screwed up. And then he goes, Dr. DiPietro, Steve Cristaldi, you did not typewrite your paper. You were supposed to typewrite your paper. You are on probation right now, 1 month before the test started. And Steve and I are going, did you know? No, I didn't know. We're supposed to type it. I guess somebody forgot to tell us.
I wonder if that person is on this couch.
It could be.
And that on social
and-
media. We didn't have social media back then.
Yeah.
I think I texted them, and they just didn't see it.
Yeah, but I would like to finish that up about the strength of character and determination. You know, we're just like, I really should have brought the picture, and I have a picture of us sitting on the floor, and both of us are like, our heads are hanging down like this. And
You passed.
we're going, what's the point? Yeah, Steve, what's the point? And I go, well, you know, the point is we need to stand up and be better than every single person on this test today. We need to prove that we earned it, even if we don't receive it today. We're going to be, and so we did. It probably made us 10 times better that day performing on the test. And Sensei, no, he did not promote us. We had to go to a seminar 1 month later in January, and you know, where we received our black belts.
Well, that wasn't the first time he probated somebody for irresponsibility. John Benson was in the first black belt test. John Locke and a guy whose name just is gone. He passed. There was a lot of natural talent in that little group, and they passed. So class was like the next day or the next class. He went and played basketball. And sprained his ankle. And since I put him on, like, no, you don't get promoted. You don't. So he waited, I don't know, a couple of weeks. I don't know. He's like, you can't ask me. So that's not the first time he did stuff like that.
And then my story is pretty good. It's kind of like father, like son. So this was in 2005. Quinn and Bao had gone to Vietnam, and I was gearing up for my Rokudan, which was my 6th degree. And I wanted to test with John Kay because we both tested in '97 for our Godan and Marquette. I was also president of the association, so when Quinn came back, he saw my demo, and I only had 2 ukes in the demo, one being John. It was a really good demo, but he said, no, for North Florida region, I expect more out of you. And I'm like, well, I've done a lot for the association, I've done a lot for the style. I mean, I really feel like I earn it. And he said, no, I expect more out of you. So my feelings were kind of hurt, but I knew deep down, like John said, it's what the style gives to you, not give up, get knocked down, get back up. And the following year was the first time we ever did a demo, which Quinn helped me
We had
choreograph.
47 people in
We
that.
had 12 people in it. It was board breaking, it was katas, it was weapons, 7 different weapons going on, attacking, da 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 da. And when I look back on it, it was probably the best lesson I ever learned is when you think something bad is happening, don't give up, stay focused, overcome the obstacle, and
And so,
One of O Sensei's words that he used all the time, quite frequently, was his pronunciation of the word perseverance. Oh, he called it perseverance. And it went into everything. And that's one of those things that sticks with you. I failed my black belt test 3 times. No, I had to take it 3 times. First, because I said things I wasn't supposed to. Plus, I couldn't break. Took it again, the whole test, again. Still couldn't break. Better speech this time. 3rd time, and this is when you did it all in one day.
oh yeah.
And the 3rd time, they're like, we've seen you too much. Just stand, bow in and then just stand there. I'm like, what? But I still had to break. Luckily, they broke. But, and then, this is not always a happy thing for me. I was testing for Godon. It had been a very long time since I had tested. Tested in parts, it seems like we were doing at that point, right?
Yeah.
And we got to, it was in a park in Gainesville in a YMCA gym or something. And I did all my kata that I was supposed to do, and I thought I did pretty well, and I got a lot of good reviews on it. But then we got to sparring, and I was, Sensei Ulysses, I'm not a sparrer. I'm deathly afraid of it. I don't
is.
Face blocks a lot, and I just kind of basically ran from him. I thought running was a good idea. Like, I'm not doing that. And then, again, me and my mouth, we had to give a speech. So, I mean, I did spar a couple other people. I think Elizabeth Roman and Allison.
That's more even.
Yeah,
Those two are more
the
even than
first one I'm
Ulysses.
going, I'm gonna die. So there were 2 people giving speeches that night, as I remember. There was a 10-year-old boy who was taking his black belt. He gave his speech about how he wanted to be a black belt all his life. He's 10. I get it. I was 10 100 years ago. He went on and on about how much it meant and he worked so hard and all this stuff. And okay, you should never work with kids or animals. So I got out there to do my speech, and the first thing out of my mouth was, it's not about the rank. Oh, no, that did not sit well. Because I was speaking publicly. There were non-style members there.
The parents and grandparents.
And he did not want me to be saying that.
Do you remember what he did? He stopped and he pulled Mary Davis and myself over. It could have been someone else, but the 2 of us over. And he stopped the entire test. And the words I kind of remember was, you had said something like, when you get to this point, it's not as big as when you think. It's kind of like the point is you've been training so much, you've been working out so much. So I totally understood what you were saying, but because she was talking in front of other people that were non-Cuong Nhu people, as if he thought, and it's probably more of a culture thing, oh, this doesn't mean that much to me. And that's not what she said, the meaning of it.
Yeah.
But O Sensei, so he immediately pulled some senior instructors over, said that, stopped right there.
Yeah.
And
Method. Not allowed to continue. So that was a hard part for me. I never tried again. Life got in the way. I was on the board. Then we bought a boat. I'm going to go do something else for a while.
The Cuong Nhu has never left you.
No. The principles of the code of ethics, and the big one for me is simplification. The Cuong Nhu, simplification, repetition. Simplification is what I try to do in my life. It's not always easy, but I try to be efficient, think of things simply. If I get confused about something, it's like, okay, this isn't working, go back and try it again. Start at the beginning and see what you could get down to basics on it. It just, it just took a different form with me, I guess.
Well, Sensei came back in 1977.
Mhm.
I know you were there.
Yes.
I don't know if you were
A bunch
there.
of us
Yeah.
were at
Yeah.
the airport.
I don't know, John, if you
It's
were
homecoming
there.
day.
He came
Yep.
back.
Homecoming.
Yeah.
I was there, but I wasn't there. Okay, and I
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I was.
Yeah.
It wasn't something for me because I didn't know him before he went.
We were all in geese
Yeah.
and stuff
Mhm.
at the airport.
Tell us about that day.
Well, I wasn't at the airport. I was at the center, so I can remember.
Okay, we'll start at the airport.
Oh, yeah. Well, some of us went to the airport, which in Gainesville at the time was one where you got off out of the plane out there on the tarmac and walked
Hang on a
on.
second. I remember we were told he got out of Vietnam. Then we were all told he passed away. And then it came out that he was safe and coming back.
Yes, he was
Well,
in.
he was on his house, or I mean,
And
he
it
was
took
at
a year, and they
Indonesia.
postponed every test
Yeah.
for a year till he came back. I remember that.
That's
'cause
pretty
when I
much
was
it.
there.
Yeah. He,
So,
yeah,
you were-
he escaped in a boat with a bunch of other people. They got
Mhm.
picked up in a shipping lane and taken to Jakarta,
Yeah. no,
Indonesia.
Yeah.
Tell us about the airport.
They came off with everybody and as a family, and I remember thinking how small tiny his family was. I mean, Master 2 was like 5, so she was just this big, and it went and so On would be even smaller, and I was just thinking, God, I really didn't think they'd be that small people. And Chow, his wife.
Remember, because people need to know, he came here alone
Yeah.
in 71 without the family. So
Yes,
none of
yes.
you got to meet his family
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
after he went.
Yeah. He was on.
I want that for the record.
Yeah. He was sent by the government
Mhm,
to
mhm.
learn entomology. So yeah, it was very different. It was really quiet. Some of the people in the first class were the ones that speak to him and stuff, and they arranged for, we sponsored him. Cuong Nhu sponsored him, rented him a house.
And other than our
furnished
sensei,
him.
they didn't speak English.
Yeah.
So, I remember living on Northwest 12th Street and 16th Avenue, a couple doors down from Gary and Leona England.
Oh yeah.
I was doing math stuff for him, accounting. That was my major math. And the No family lived in those apartments on Northwest 16th Avenue. And just to think back on the simplicity of those
Mhm.
days, and training was a big thing. I mean, they'd go to school and go straight to the center, and everything was pretty much, that was life around them. And for most of us in Gainesville, that was our life if we were training in Cuong Nhu. You may have worked, or you may have to go to school, but it was pretty much dojo related in a way. Now you look at it, there's just too many things out there in the world that keep so many people busy.
Well, we didn't have kids.
Yeah.
The core that started in the United States were all basically
Yeah.
College students.
College kids,
single,
yeah.
young
Yeah.
people, young professionals, young students
Those were the days.
that didn't necessarily have children. They did, so yeah.
I have notes here. And we're on the funny, poignant story. Tell me about Bao and the tickling.
Oh, do you remember that from camp? At camp, I think it was at Bowie, Maryland.
Bowie, Maryland.
Do you remember
And
that?
which
Hey, well, okay. So, Bao had said that he had a secret technique that I'm thinking this, that he wanted to demonstrate, and he wanted his dad to be the uke. And he's looking at him with that look he could get, and he's like, come on, Dad, come on. They were up on the stage because we were in an auditorium, and he started doing this, and Sensei's like, no, and he's backing up, and he's like, no. And then he said something to him in Vietnamese, and those people who understood that laughed, but, it was really funny to see him so flipped out about something, because he was never like that. He was not, he was a happy guy, but he was never like, nope, It was cute.
Let's talk about Quinn.
Excuse me.
We all miss him. He should still be here. We'll start with that basic. Tell our viewers something about Quinn they should know about Quinn. John?
I never had a lot of social interaction with him other than coming and going. He would come into our room. Kirk and I would room together at training camp. And like 5 in the morning, he'd bah, 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 bah. Cook, John, wake up! And we'd open up the door. He'd jump into the room doing flying kicks at like 5 in the morning. Get out of here!
When he wasn't blasting the radio and down the hallways for everybody to
that
wake
was
up.
like he was one of those guys who needed like 4 hours sleep, and then he wakes up wide awake, as if he had a pot of coffee. But that was one of the kind of fun parts of him, and something that nobody knows about. No, I'm not going to expound upon, but I went through a difficult time about 15 years ago, and out of the blue, he called me up and John, and he was there for me to work through a situation that I was in. Totally unexpected, never had a conversation with him about it. So, I think he did that for a lot of people. When he knew someone was in need, he would quietly go and be there for them.
You know, when the economy tanked in 2008 or something, he had the construction business, whatever it was that he had, and he had a crew. And we live in a swampy area near the St. Johns River, and we have a creek, and we back up to a creek where we're docking our boat, and we needed to rebuild the walkway through the swamp. He gave us those guys. We bought the materials at his cost. He gave us those guys because he wanted them to keep working, and so he could keep paying them. But he took no money from us for that. And I can't even imagine, because just the lumber was $5,000 back then. I can't even imagine. They were there every day, 8 hours a day. That's just what he did. He and Bert were real good friends.
Yeah, he probably hired at least a dozen different Cuong Nhu students who were in their young 20s, Trevor and MJ and Jason and on, to do work for them. Not so much he needed them as much as helping them out, and he let a lot of them stay with them too. They didn't have a place to stay. I have some funny stories when I think back on it, ranging from in the late 90s, he and I drove to Alabama to see Bao, and we're doing like a network marketing company, LocalNet. I'll never forget sleeping on the couch and Quinn sleeping on the floor. He gets up, he starts doing wheel kicks. That's his way of waking up, and I'm like, whoa, and I'm like, oh my gosh, a bundle of energy. Talk about a bundle of energy. But he had this wisdom of what he would say things, and they would just come out naturally, whether it be at a picnic or a story like that. But even going out to dinner with him, and he didn't drink, but then he'd say, well, you know what, if I'm gonna have a drink, I'm gonna have a Long Island iced tea, because you got 5 different liquors, or whatever, however many there are. Or he was the one that told me, oh no, you need to eat jalapenos because it helps with your metabolism. It burns the things so you won't get fat, da-da-da-da-da. And so some of the little things to this day I can remember that he would say that would just leave a good memory, a nice memory.
And it's not a secret that he had a crew working lawns for him when he was a kid. And he paid the boys with Playboy magazines that he bought at yard sales.
Here's what our viewers, I asked a question about Quinn.
Yeah.
I did not get one reference to his martial arts ability. I did not get one reference to his teaching style. I did not get one reference to karate. I got stories about a person who impacted all of us. And that's what he did. Yes, he could kick our butts. We knew that.
Yeah. We'd all had our butts kicked.
Yes, we did. But that was who he was.
But there's I didn't have a lot of contact with him at all because I was at Dragon Gate a lot, and then when I was no longer associated there. I was teaching that at my own school.
Mhm.
I taught at 2 schools, one after another, but still. So, I have, one story about him is that at Camp Talcott, I didn't particularly like him as a young man, a teenager, because I thought he was undisciplined, he was obnoxious, he was conceited.
Stop smiling, Kirk. Go ahead.
You know what I'm
Right
talking about.
on. Yeah.
But one
Right
time
on.
at camp, I told him to sit down and act like a black belt. He was just being obnoxious. And he just sat down. The other thing was, and I think it might have been the same year or the next year when Fighting Form was introduced, he had to do that over. He was the example. At 7 o'clock in the morning, he must have done a 540-degree wheel, whatever kick, jump, I don't know, 30 times. And he never faltered. Never faltered. Didn't even look like he was breathing hard.
Yeah.
Ah!
Mark and I have a time limit because we want people to actually watch these.
You can edit them.
So, yes, but it's all been too good.
Oh, okay.
I'm putting you on the spot, Kirk. You have done something with karate with Cuong Nhu professionally for 20 years. Give us 90 seconds what you do. It's an inspiration to everybody.
Yeah, it really comes from the first code of ethic. Strive to improve yourself in the martial arts in order to serve the people. So I got that from O-Sensei. I did some mentoring work at the jail for almost 10 years. It was a Toastmasters program. Those 14 to 17-year-olds were incarcerated. So I saw firsthand how they had to accept the consequences of their actions. So I took what I was really good at, martial arts, jumping rope, which I used to compete a lot. Jumping rope is a really good way of keeping in good shape. And juggling, my twin was in the circus. He and I had been juggling for a long time. Agility training, but the kicker was the public speaking. So the program is called FACE, like your face, fitness and character education. I started at a school in 2003, started Cobalt Moon, summer of 2003, started in the public schools 2004, went to go see whoever the superintendent was in 2005 to ask him if I could do it during the school day. He said absolutely not. So I left there deflated thinking, oh no. And then I realized, wait, I'm a black belt. I got knocked down before. So then I went to the schools directly and I started doing it for free back in 2005. Ever since, became a nonprofit in 2010. Proud to say I've been 60 different schools. We expanded up to Pennsylvania in 2011. And it's been going really well. Now I have schools calling me up, asking for the program. I'm in probably about 7 schools consistently, public schools. But now it's evolved into a different clientele. North Florida Schools Special Education, Daniel kids that have been, had a lot of troubles, kicked out or whatever. Several private schools, after school programs. The public schools are for the started as at-risk
FACE
kids.
is fitness and character education.
Education, FACE, and then branded face4kids.org or .com.
I'm going to ask one last question I always ask. Is there any question I should have asked that I didn't?
How has our martial arts evolved as we have gotten older and are unable to do it?
Seasoned.
As we become more seasoned in life?
That's a good question.
There you go. Answer?
Well, I've obviously moved on from the flying kicks and knuckle push-ups and all that. My workouts now are respect martial arts are 1 time a week. I do Tai Chi. I come over to Kirk's house every Monday night. We go through 3 rounds of Tai Chi. We have hand drills that we learned and different systems, Chinese boxing and Wing Chun, that we do our hand drills, and then a lot of stick drills that we picked up on our days from Arnis. We work in Qigong, and that's kind of my martial arts workout. The rest of my training is going to the gym, the normal.
I think Carolyn said it.
What?
It's with us forever. It
Yes.
never leaves.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I have a story about that as well. I quit working out, obviously, when I left on the boat in an organized fashion. We rode we only had bicycles, so we rode our bicycles everywhere. But when we came back, we lived in Tarpon Springs for a while, and Bert went to a Shotokan school, and they were very impressed with him and with what he knew, although he was not allowed to tell anybody, teach them anything, and he's very respectful, so he didn't do that. But the instructor finally understood that we were real. I didn't do it, but he did, and I went with him a couple times. Anyway, so so we bought this house out in the middle of the boonies, so we had a place to put the boat. And, you know, we worked on the boat. We traveled a little bit more after that on the boat, but then, 2008 hit. And it was very isolating. And I finally realized by the time I started getting Medicare Medicare too, because I could go to Silver Sneakers for not aerobics, but for exercise that would be free, which is always good. But I needed something. I needed a social event. I don't go to, I wasn't going to classes. I don't belong to a religious organization, none of that stuff. And we lived 15 miles from town. So I went to this Silver Sneakers, and I was home. I turned it into a stamina workout that we used to do all the time. Not typically, but I found a way to work everything in, and people were like, what are you doing? Because it's very open. You can do what your body will do, and as long as you have control of it. But it absolutely filled that need for me. I got back to Cuong Nhu, to doing an aerobic style class that I could do with martial arts techniques. So it was kind of like Taibo or something like that. Only there was no contact. I mean, it was just, every time we did something like squats, I'm like, okay, how far down can I go in this side stance? That kind of stuff. And it just absolutely brought me back. I have not been that happy in 20 years, probably. I was like you-hooing in class. It was wonderful. Once I figured out that I could do it without killing myself. But it was really crazy, and people were going, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing karate, actually. I am. So.
All right. I have two more words.
Do I get to tell you my question?
Sure.
The question would be...
I am not going to not allow a guy who outranks me.
The question would be, how did you meet your beautiful wife, Linda?
Oh, yes. How did you meet your beautiful wife, Linda?
Because of Quinn. If it wasn't because of Quinn, I would have never met Linda. We were at Bonefish, January of 2007. I was sitting at the bar enjoying myself. My friends Daniel, who was in class, Quinn, and Jim Smith were there. We're just a boys' night out. We're having fun. And I had just done an assembly that day called The Power of a Compliment. It's one of the vignettes. Her friend Linda's in the other room, which I didn't know at the time. Her friend Robin had told Linda, go walk by in the bar and see if there are any cute guys. She, of course, goes by the boots, not where the bar is, walks right back, and then Robin comes through. And as Robin's walking by, I go, oh, that's a pretty necklace. So she stops and she starts talking to us. And, hey, do any of you want to come over and join me and my friend, referring to Linda, in the other room? And I'm like, no, I'm content. I got a chair. I'm eating. Everyone else is a little shy, no. And of course, Quinn, yeah, sure, I'll come over there. So Quinn goes over there, proceeds to eat all their food, the appetizers, has a drink, and says, oh, let me get my friends over here. And no, you're enough. And Quinn was in the snowboarding at the time, and Linda was a big snowboarder, and they're talking about snowboard. And then I walked up, and the rest is history. And we got married in 8808. And, now this day, it's like, the connections is kind of like the Celestine prophecy. Things happen kind of for a reason. And I really believe sometimes if you look at the people in your life and you realize, wow, there was a reason that person was there. Just like there's a reason why Joe's sitting in the massage chair. He ended up marrying Linda and I.
And he remarried,
that was a plug for you.
Remarried you and Bert at training camp.
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say thank you. I'm going to say it again. Cuong Nhu is not a martial art. simple it is. It's a family.
Absolutely.
And you three are a perfect example of our family.
You can
Thank
go
you again.
anywhere and be at home.
Thank you again very much. Thank you, Mark, in the background.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mark.